Yon! Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Eto na po! Welcome, mga kariktards, to another season, second season of our show for tonight. Ang kakaisa-isang Voice of the Boys Season 2. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, my name once again is the Rick Matthews. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell sa aking YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram pages. Ayan na po. Alright, kamusta kayo mga kariktards? Wow! Ang dami nating viewership ngayong gabi. Mukhang excited po kayong lahat makita ang ating very special guest of honor for tonight. But before everything else, please allow me to introduce my co-host sa ating Voice of the Boys. Ang kaisa-isang none other than, of course, si Mr. Voice D Slayer, Mr. Joshua Ravelas. Ayan na po. Are you there? Oh, and you are on mute?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, pardon
No worries, brother. Kamusta, bro? It's been a while.
Yeah, I know. It's been like more than a week. And how are you?
Not too bad. Doing great. Starting the year right. You know, ang daming blessings na dumarating sa akin, along with VG8 Radio as well, our mother company. But, you know, we're hopefully getting on the right track, starting in an a very optimistic this year, 2021. As hopefully everything becomes better, you know. Sana hindi kasing lala ng ating traumatic 2020 for most of us, you know. And hopefully we're able to, lahat ng mga na-plant na natin na seeds, all the things that we have invested on last year, sana maramdaman na natin the fruits of our labor, along with this show, of course. So, mga kariktards natin dyan, and mga ka-TIP, mga the Imperial Patriarch fans, we would like to welcome you to the Voice of the Boys. Marami tayong pag-uusapan ngayong gabi, because this is gonna be a Season 2 premiere. And of course, ang magiging topic natin today is about a very taboo word, ika nga, Josh. It's very, when you mention this, especially in the Western worlds, they're gonna cringe or gonna get triggered and all that stuff. Kaya,
yeah, that's
let's
true.
talk about the patriarchy. Diba? The patriarchy, oh my god, I'm so triggered. Oh my god, I feel so attacked.
Yeah.
Patay tayo dyan. Very taboo word, but you know, sometimes we need to give a voice to the voiceless, the voice to those who were once considered renegades, rebels, rejects, and yung mga ngayon, a voice to who were once called na a voice who were once called bad. Ayun, masamang damo daw. And I don't want people to think that way kasi especially with what the media, what society right now thinks of ang pag-uusapan natin, which is conservatism, chivalry, and patriarchy. We would like to give another perspective on this, and that's why we have our very esteemed guest for today, di ba, Josh?
Yes, that's true. And we're gonna be talking about various topics relating to this. And without further ado, let's bring him in.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course, let's introduce ang ating very special guest for tonight with 55,000 followers on Facebook alone. Ladies and gentlemen, ito na pong inintay natin. Wow! 33 viewers, 33,000. Thank you so much. Very good. Mukhang excited na mga
Beautiful.
ka-TIP natin ngayon. Wag na natin patagalin, Josh. Ito na po si The Imperial Patriarch. Hello,
Hello there,
TIP.
sir.
How are you, sir?
Hello, good evening. I'm fine.
All right.
Evening,
Yes, sir.
Rick
Yes, sir.
and Slayer.
Hello. Nice to see you and welcome to our show.
Thank
For
you.
the
Welcome
first
to
time.
Voice of the Boys, diba?
Yes.
Thank you.
So,
How are you, sir?
yes,
I'm
how
doing
was
great.
your New Year?
It's a very new year for me. I've spent it with my wife, and she's pregnant, and just the two of us.
Oh, wow!
Wow,
Congratulations!
congratulations.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
Ayan na, wait! Ang dami na palang, sorry, ang dami na pala nating comments. So, isa-isay nating
Oh, wow.
basahin. Of course, from Sir Ardrich, Hemadi Baidal. Hello from Certified Voice Artist Program, Batch 5.
Hello
Congratulations!
there, Patrick.
But
Welcome to our
congratulations!
show.
Welcome pala! Welcome to our show! And of
Welcome.
course, Dayan Sarmiento. Hello!
Yes, Dayan!
Welcome back! Hello! Yes!
Welcome back. Haven't seen
There's
you in
my
a
babe.
while.
Ay. Ayun.
Oh,
And of course,
oh.
Jean Eledia. Jean Sensei.
Gene
One of my
Sensei.
closest friends. Hello, hello. Mark Louis de Guzman. Hey, what's up? What's
Hello,
up,
Sir
Mark
Mark.
Louis de Guzman? Welcome to the show. Joshua Jeremy TIP in the
Wow.
house. Yan ang mga fans ni TIP. Ayun, congratulations. Ito na, grabe. Congratulations, TIP. I think this is gonna be your first ever live interview or live podcast, if I may.
Yeah. Yes.
Yon. Ayan, of course, round of
Clapping.
applause.
Applause, man.
Ito, yes,
Wow.
very excited. We have so many topics to tackle ngayon. Congratulations, grabe. Congratulations to us. Ayan, first time to hear TIP. Grabe. So,
Wow.
kaya pala, this is very anticipated.
The
So,
mystery behind
Yes.
TIP.
the mystery behind TIP. And yes, si TIP is very, so we have the picture over here so you can hear his wonderful voice. But of course, what matters, mga ka-Rictards and mga ka-TIP, is the knowledge and the thoughts that he'll be sharing all throughout the show. So yun po ang abangan natin ngayong gabi. Ayan, si TIP, ayan. You even have lady followers. Hello, Miss Ayen Esparago.
Hello,
Miss
hello, Miss
Miriam. Good
Miss
evening,
Miriam.
TIP followers. Yan, mga ka-TIP. Is that correct? Is that what you call? Do you have any term for your fans, TIP?
Siguro sa group, I call them patriarchs and noble women.
Oh,
Wow.
I like it.
So there's
Very
a name for
no-
women.
Very sophisticated.
Nice, nice.
So mga kapatriarchs and noble women, abangan nyo po at magsa-start na po tayo. Let's get the show started right now with, of course, the first question. Josh, do the honors.
Oh, yes. So, sir, could you tell us, how did you start your personal blog, The Imperial Patriarch?
Yes, thank you, Josh. So it was in the middle of 2017 that I started writing my thoughts and musings on a WordPress blog I've created. And after 2 or 3 posts, it was very inconvenient because I still have to open WordPress and write it there. So I just quit. And my wife, who was still my girlfriend back then, suggested that I still keep on writing. So I created a Facebook page where I can write down all my thoughts, like a journal or like a diary. So they were all just musings, and some are just nonsense, and some don't even have the context to understand what my writings were. Parang it's like a rant page, not necessarily a rant, but just my thoughts. And I still had like 100 followers on that page kasi mga friends ko lang. And I saw it as more like a personal diary that anyone could read if they would like. And then one day, my wife, still my girlfriend back then, wrote a piece called sa Facebook post, sa Facebook profile niya. It's called "I Cursed a Godly Man," and it was all in her point of view. And I would sit beside her and listen to what she had to say, because it was in Bisaya and Cebuano, and I would write down. I would write it down in English. So, and that post, "I Cursed a Godly Man," became viral overnight. It gained 24,000 reacts and 16,000
Wow.
comments and shares. Then that's when we realized two things. That number one, is such a great thing to positively influence people through your experience and your failures, and of
Amen.
course the lessons. Yeah.
Amen to that.
Amen to
And
that.
number two, yeah, number two is that a lot of people actually adore the way I write. So I don't mean that
Yes.
I use all fancy write. I mean the fancy words, but I use the very simple and very basic words, and so that people could understand. But I arranged them carefully, and so it motivated me to write those kind of posts in my page. And it even took a year to break through the first 1,000 followers, and then just consistent writing. It just snowballed from there. So yeah, that's how it started.
Grabe nga,
Wow.
we can see, 'di ba? Yung grabe yung the way you write your vlogs, your thoughts talaga. It's very well thought, well written, very
Uh-huh.
formal, but at the same time talagang it hits home, especially with what's going on in society today, 'di ba?
Yes. And it's really inspiring because everybody can relate to it in a human manner. Because
Yeah.
barely do you see writers right now write about these things. And
Exactly.
the good part about it is that we can change the world using what we write. And I really am inspired by you, sir, because
Thank you.
looking at how you write reminds me of how I write in my older works. Because
Wow.
I also have certain books before that I've been writing. Actually, I have yet to publish most of my other works, and judging by how I've seen most of your works, it reminds me also of certain authors before.
Uh-huh.
Although, yeah, and it's really inspiring. And thank you for sharing those. They have been great guides for most of us, especially those who have gone astray from their own path. And
Exactly.
Thank you. I'm very
grateful.
flattered, Josh.
Speaking of that pala, so let's go straight to number two.
Hmm.
Who are your role models growing up? Diba? Who did
my
you look up to?
my role model. Well, part of the reason I made the page and I assume the identity of the Imperial Patriarch is exactly because I never had any role models in my childhood. And,
Ah, okay.
not even male role models, just until very recently. And I think it's
Yes.
a serious problem for many of our young boys and even young men today.
Amen.
And I wasn't exempted from it.
Amen.
I mean, my
Amen.
father's
I
my,
feel you.
my own father is there in the house, but our dynamics is the same as every other Filipino family, where they're not really there in the sense enough for us to consider them a positive role model. So I'm not sure if that's what you also had in your own household, but I think
Mhm.
it's very common in our society.
Yes,
Yes,
it
that's
lacks the
true.
connection, no?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but as far as I know, I only have like Chester Bennington from Linkin Park.
Linkin Park.
Oh
Oh,
my God,
may he rest in
Chester!
peace.
May he rest in
Grabe.
Yeah,
peace.
but it's not. I'm not sure if you consider him a good or positive role model for children. So
Yeah, that's
Well,
true. But of course, he has these perks as well, because
yeah.
of course he's not only an influential artist, but he was able to speak to most of the youth during my time, and it was really inspiring that although there were a lot of setbacks in his life, but it
Hmm.
didn't stop him from doing what was right for
Yeah,
himself
yeah,
and for the youth. And that's one of the positive things that Chester has brought up.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. So if I could share about a little more about the role model.
yes, please.
So
Yeah.
uh,
Yes, go.
in my page, I would focus more on the male role models, since
Yes.
in the average household, not just in the Philippines, the mother is always there. So we have this absence of fathers and male role models at
Amen.
home. So it created a very
Yes.
serious problem in our society. And
Yes.
many years ago in developmental psychology, I've learned that uh, girls or females with good and positive male role models, such as their fathers, grew up to possess a more positive self-image and increased levels of self-esteem. In the same way,
Mm-hmm.
boys with the positive male role models grew up to be more assertive, more strong, more self-responsible, and are more likely to achieve higher levels of career and economic success. And when we look at
Mm-hmm.
our society today, we're almost exactly fulfilling what was said in the studies 60 years ago. So we now have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of women who are stuck up in their insecurity and finding all the ways to feel loved, to feel seen, and be admired, because just because their fathers didn't validate them when they were young. And a lot of women today, compared to men, are addicted to social media and this Instagram culture, because it's what they get
Yes.
their daily dose, or it's where they get their daily dose of
Don't
false
forget Twitter.
inspiration. Yeah, Twitter also, Instagram, Twitter.
Twitter.
Um,
My favorite.
yeah, so in Tagalog, I think it's called panakip butas for their insecurity, and they're compensating
Yes.
for the lack of
Mm.
security.
And a way to vent out, I guess, their
Yeah,
emotions when they can't do it in front of their family and their some of their friends.
yeah, exactly. And they do almost everything just to get attention, or even strip almost naked, or even naked, sexualize
Oh yes.
themselves. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm.
by far the fastest and most convenient way to get instant attention from men everywhere, and they do this miserably and desperately again and again.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they don't know that what they actually need was their father's love and attention, and what they really need is their fathers telling them, hey, like, you're my little princess, I love you, and I'm so proud of you, you're beautiful,
And
you have all my attention now.
exactly. And
Mhm.
nowadays that's considered sexist and patriarchy. 'Di ba parang come on, like ang hirap, society nowadays is easily
Mhm.
offended with everything. It's always about them na, oh, this is my body, my choice. I mean, wala namang masama dun, but of course, you have to be responsible with your own actions as well, 'di ba?
Mhm. Yeah,
Mm. And how you
exactly.
react.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of responsibility, it's also like I said, I'm not exempted from it. Boys like me, 9 to 10 years ago, grew up weak, irresponsible, passive. So we have lots of boys today who do nothing but rant on Twitter, how
Mhm.
everything except them are wrong. So we have men who refuse to be
Oo.
accountable to their actions and refuse to be
Exactly.
responsible. And because all of this requires courage and risk taking, and they don't have
Mhm.
the fathers who are intentional to them, who would tell them that they're strong and that they need to take risks in life, and they can change the world. So what they do is just rant on Twitter. So that's, I think
Exactly.
that's what you were talking about earlier.
Yes,
So
And
that's true.
yeah.
ang paninindigan nila, that what they're trying to fight for is, oh, we have to speak up your thoughts and your feelings, but
Mhm.
sometimes instead of just ranting about, and the problem with Twitter is they rant about every single damn thing about the world that doesn't,
Mhm.
man, they're even arguing about adding a women in amen. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
did you see that in the news?
Yeah.
I'm like, what
Man.
the hell?
It
Sorry
was
for the. Pardon me.
it was in the U.S.
Yes.
Congress.
No worry, you're excused.
Yes.
So
I'm like,
yeah, I think
why?
yeah.
Yun yung,
So
sorry, sorry.
uh, I think it's kind of the result of having like good father figures and role models early in life, in childhood. So that's why we have men and women like that, and they're so used to slander behind the veil of like anonymity and unanimity
Yes,
of the
exactly.
same people. And when it's time to be held accountable, they they disperse like rats. They deactivate
Oo.
their social media profiles. They just hide.
Oo, and what's sad is they reason out, oh, it's because it's becoming bad for my mental health. I mean, that's a big problem because you're using something that's very very serious to avoid responsibility, to avoid accountability for your actions. Di ba, sana I hope they understand that. Yun ang that's what's really really wrong about what I see in this, not just in the next generation but in society, the lack of responsibility.
Yeah, yeah,
And accountability.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think most Filipino families. I'm just generalizing here, so um,
And speaking of,
amen, amen.
diba? Oh my god, that was so ridiculous. Lang, just sorry for ano lang,
Ludicrous.
icebreaker.
Yeah. So I think we didn't have fathers who would tell us to be strong and to be brave, at least us for men, and to take risks that we have to stand up
Exactly.
for.
Mm.
So we have fathers who just sit around and scold us for every mistake that we do, and that's it. So
Mm,
so that's also why we have a lot
toxic.
of men today who just scold the government or society
Oh
if they
yes.
screw up, and they feel
Oo, they
accountable.
blame everything on the government kahit I mean, kahit kasalanan ng ibang tao. Kahit na napakaliit na bagay, they will always find a way that it's the government's fault. I'm like, what? Alam mo yun? How is that even connect? They found, they're so creative in connecting it sa gobyerno. I'm like, yeah, we have an imperfect government, but come on.
Yeah.
And it's
So,
self-inflicted. Most of the things that they
Oo.
do right now are mostly self-inflicted.
yeah.
And it's not really healthy because these people, they need to learn certain outlets. And usually that's one of the changes I think society should have right now. Because nobody ever dares talks about these things. Because it's kind of like taboo to them. And probably because of our primitive culture as well. Because our culture just blossomed later on. It's a late bloomer as a culture. And we're
Exactly.
still trying to understand the world itself. But
Exactly.
hopefully by in due time we can change these things for the better. Yeah.
One step at a time, diba?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I think it starts in the family. So
Exactly.
Do
Amen.
you have
Family.
children, both of you?
None at the moment.
None at the moment. Single.
Still single.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it starts there, and it's really important that as men and as future fathers that we do our roles well in validating and our children. So just like what God said to Jesus, that something like you are my son and I am well pleased in you, and so that's what God the Father said to Jesus, and that really just resulted in him changing the entire world. So that's the implication. So, and it's sad for me because it's not happening, at least to the majority of us, and so many men tend to just spend so many years playing around, playing with women, playing with video games, playing with
Yes.
doing drugs,
Mm.
because these things, for example, video games and casual sex, these things are give a challenge and give a pleasure, but they don't have any risk and they don't have any responsibility. So
Mhm.
yeah, I've been
Especially when everything
also-
turns south, diba?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
That's true.
And
So-
it's sad, like, sorry to cut you off, but it's sad that we're seeing that lalo na sa generation na to, hindi na kumpleto ang family, and growing up with a single mom din na of course kung ako, I would never ever do that kung ako magkapamilya. I'll try my best to become, that's why I'm trying to better myself araw-araw para when the time comes na ako naman na magkapamilya, they're taken care of, di ba?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how it should be. And yes, we should praise yung talagang the resilience and the struggles ng mga single moms because yung mga lalaki ng E1 is because they avoided responsibility, and that's a sad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And it's happening all too often.
who do you have as a role model for it? Since you said you grew up with a single mom.
Oh, ako, to be honest, we're the same. Like, I struggled. Like, I love my mom, of course, pero to look for a male role model talaga is, I looked sa mga, I watch a lot of wrestling. so, I guess in the WWE, I consider most of them really a bit of myself. I like, lalo na, I don't know if you grew up in the Attitude Era or John Cena, but ako, si The Rock, si Stone Cold, Triple H, Undertaker, Eddie Guerrero, John Cena, Batista, sila parang, they're kind of like role models in a bit sa akin. Kaya, but then, because I struggled like, may mga uncles din naman ako, but that took care of me. Pero I learned that growing up, especially the last 3 years, last 2017, where it was the lowest point of my life, that I was talagang on the spectrum, na talagang I almost lost it. And sabi ko, there was one video that I watched that really kept me out of that. Well, there are three videos, but so one of them was, if you know who Steven Crowder is.
Yeah, I do.
Yan. I saw he was talking about what do you call this? Purpose. He was talking about owning up to your mistakes, being responsible in your life. And then there was another one from Ben Shapiro, if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Of
So
course,
your models are podcasters as well.
Yes. And that's what got me hooked into podcasting. And there was a very, very powerful thing na sinabi ni Ben Shapiro before about suicide. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit dark. He said that that's the reason why people are depressed and that are doing those. And I don't know if you're gonna agree with him, but it's because people are chasing for happiness. It's about happiness. That's the purpose of not the purpose, sorry, that's what they want in life, is eternal happiness. But let's admit that eternal happiness is not manageable. It's not realistic, because aminin natin, even if we're happy, there are also sad times in life.
Yeah.
But then what would keep you going forward is to have your purpose, your life's purpose.
Yeah.
So
I
yun,
actually agree with that.
'di ba?
The
Tinamaan
purpose and
ako
vision.
doon. Yes, tinamaan ako. And of course, one more, and ito na nga sinasabi ng mga commenters, of course, none other than the man himself, Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
Yes, man, this guy saved my life talaga. I heard one of his interviews about depression, about about suicide. He just said one really powerful thing, that na umiiyak pa siya nun that's when you see that he's really a genuine person. He told his audience na there's before you decide on doing something that will never be taken back, you have to first think of yourself as you have so much more potential that you have to let go of this life, and you can still do something good with yourself and to others. So before you do something, think about that first. Think about the people that you will leave behind. Think about the legacy, the afterthought that you will leave behind when you do that thing, 'di ba? It's really dark, pero it's not, sabi nga niya, it's not the end of your problems. Pinasa mo lang sa ibang tao. You pass the burden to others, and it's so dark to say, and a lot of people will get offended with it, but that's the reality of it all And doon ako tinamaan. I cried for like the entire day hearing that. Na iniisip ko, I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Like, ano ba to?
Is that the one in 2017?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nice.
So ganun yung that's how powerful male role model should be. Hindi naman siya limited to your father, to your cousins, to your friends, but to someone you just saw on the internet, someone you just read from, 'di ba?
So you don't have to be fathers when I think most people don't get to consciously choose a role model when they grow up. You know, for example, like it wasn't your choice to grow up without a father, right? And
Exactly.
the same with millions of other boys and girls. So they just stick around and unconsciously follow those that are available, and that's why tayo, Josh, ikaw, I mean, you're podcasters and voice actors, right? And
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure
Yes.
how I consider myself. Maybe a writer. So whatever field we are in, we just have to be intentional in becoming good masculine role model for children, and not just our own children, of course. So, and that's what I'm striving to do with my niece, my nephews, and cousins,
Yun.
godchildren.
Yes.
Yes.
Family
And
first, 'di ba?
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And another problem nga is masyadong like you said kanina with Instagram, with Facebook, when people see these posts that are may mga bahay na, may mga kotse na, syempre there's a part of you that medyo naiinggit. So you tend to compare yourself with others, 'di ba? And it's part of the talagang it really affects some people's mental health nowadays. So ang maganda nga na sinabi ni Jordan Peterson was, you always compare yourself to who you were yesterday
Yeah,
rather than someone else, 'di ba?
yeah,
And that was
exactly.
powerful.
It's how you stay content in life. So I even asked my wife, who was then my girlfriend then, to just unfollow people who would make her insecure on Instagram or
Oo.
even on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. So it's not that it's their fault that they're celebrating life's goodness and abundance, but if it's not something that would benefit you in the long run, just you could just unfollow
Mm.
them.
Oo, it's
Mm.
your it's their page.
Uh-huh.
And technically it's just kumbaga karamihan naman doon, it's just the front. Pero behind the scenes, hindi nila aaminin to, some of them. Pero ang daming malay mo inutang pala nila yon, baon sila sa utang para lang may maipakita. Yeah, that happens. I know people who are like that na, oh, I have a car but this is actually inutang ko to. Oh, I haven't paid it yet. I'm buried in debt. Mga ganun. I have a house but I'm buried in debt. Oh, look at this. I have a cake pero I'm not supposed to eat this because I'm diabetic. Yung mga ganun. There are something going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think it's something that it's their desire to make themselves appear more happy to people.
Yes. Oo. It's like ang tawag doon? Validation. There you go.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
A form of validation. But, I don't blame them, 'di ba? Sabi nga ni Miss Ma'am ng ating noble women, Reese Gade. Sorry if I butchered your last name. Social media showcases the spotlight nga naman. Tama, exactly the
exactly.
point. Yan. So, ayan, ang dami palang, grabe Sir TIP, ang daming fans ni Jordan Peterson at ni Ben Shapiro sa inyong page.
Yeah.
I thought we were such a minority, pero kilala mo ba yun, Josh?
Sino?
Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder. Have you heard of them?
Not yet. Actually, this is the first time I've
Oh.
ever heard of him from you guys.
Oh, you're gonna love them. I'm gonna post some pictures later. Pero yeah, you're gonna love them talaga. They're very conservative. So, in terms of mainstream media, they're the enemy. Yun lang. We are
Yeah.
considered the enemy technically. So, ngayon, speaking of the conservatism, Josh, what's our next question?
Well, for our next question, we would go for, in your opinion, why is society now afraid of the word patriarchy and conservatism? Conservatism, yeah.
Uh, okay, thank you again, Josh. So, patriarchy and conservatism, they overlap, but I don't think there's a single answer with regard to those two words. I think for
Mm.
conservatism, people feel more superior, or they feel, what do you call this? Um, Let me think. Or just generally better than conservatives as a
Mhm.
political idea, while feeling resentful and distant to the
Oo.
idea of patriarchy. So, for most people, their only understanding of conservatism is the adjective and the noun of
Mm.
conservatism or conservative, and not exactly the political idea. So, for example, you could ask about anyone on the streets what it means to be conservative, and they'd give you answers like religious or strict or traditional. So that's what
Yes.
conservative means for them, or someone who doesn't want to change. So that's the impression that's being left there in the general population. So the whole idea of conservatism and where people get it wrong is almost simply found in the difference between the root words. So there's a difference between conserve versus preserve. So and most people fail at getting the nuance. So when you conserve something, you ensure that you make good use of it, or you use it wisely. So you make sure that something is not wasted. So that's when you conserve it. So when on the
Yes.
other hand, when you preserve, it's suggesting that you make attempts to keep something as it is, so you don't make any changes at all. So in other words, when you preserve something, you keep it intact. So for example, we don't necessarily say we need to preserve water, but the right term is we need to conserve water, because water is not limited or scarce. On the other hand, we don't conserve monuments or statues or artifacts. We preserve them. So like the ones in the
Oh,
museums, because they are limited and we all agree that we shouldn't touch or change them. So
yes,
most people
preserve.
think, yeah, and wholeheartedly believe that being a conservative means to keep things the way they are, to be afraid of any changes in both social and economic environments. And sorry to say, but that's just wrong. That's preservation, not conservation. To be a conservative, we must make sure that we use our powers to decide wisely, since we are in a democratic republic. So to be wise and be
Yes.
thorough in decision making, and knowing full well all the possible implications of our decisions. So, for example, what happened with Christine Dacera's case, when people
Mm.
judged those men immediately, even the case immediately, is that they're very liberal in their decisions, very fast, and
Agad-agad, no?
yeah, they weren't very thorough. So and so conservatism is that you attempt not to change anything too fast or too drastically. So yeah, like I said, if you give people the political definition of conservatism and talk about free market enterprise, limited government, private ownership, they don't realize that these are the other major aspects of social and economic conservatism, something that they already and unconsciously enjoy in our country. So when you say that people are afraid of the word conservatism, it's most likely that people are only acting out of their self-interest, because they enjoy
Tsaka
being,
their politics.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
'Di ba?
they enjoy being in a country that's economical economically conservative, but because of their values or lack of moral values, they reject any socially conservative ideas. So I would suggest that they would go to Conservatives in the Philippines page. So there's a creed there.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if
Yeah,
I'm a member of that yet.
yeah.
Beautiful.
There's a page and there's a group as well. So you can find the creed there, and most of my colleagues, members of my page or and my group, are also followers of that page as well.
Oh, meron nga.
So
Okay.
yeah, so that's it for conservatism. Patriarchy is, I think it's somewhat different.
Mm.
Sorry,
Kas-
I was
What are
drinking
your
water.
thoughts on that one?
Yeah. So for patriarchy, it's kind of different, but the the idea of being afraid of it is still the same thing, as people are afraid of what they don't understand. So unfortunately for most young people, I think their first encounter with the word patriarchy is probably in the Supreme Court of Twitter, where it's
Oh,
being used as an all-around word
absolutely.
to blame
Right.
anything they don't like in life. So and unfortunately, again, the feeling of being oppressed or a victim feels good to most people, because they don't want to take in any
They,
responsibility in their lives.
exactly. Gusto nila ano lang eh, what they call this, they just want to be yung paawa.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And many young women, they develop this worldview that society has systematically oppressed them for years, and that it's
Oo.
now time for them to rise. So I think I'm not sure what you think about that statement, but yeah, for me personally, it's very problematic because number one, it's wrong, plain and simple. It's not historically accurate in the sense that any oppression is that happened to women by men is both systematic and intentional. And number two, when they start believing in this lie, it opens them to a worldview that for most part of the world you are simply either an oppressor or the oppressed. You have to choose. You
Oo,
are either
yes.
privileged or underprivileged. So
Mhm.
this is nothing but a dishonest and evil lie, a false dichotomy that highly misrepresents what really happened in the world.
And
So
they're not very consistent as well. Kasi, ano ba, at one point, they are saying equality, pero at another, it's like a witch hunt sa mga, parang, dun, yung iba galit sa, galit sa lalaki. I mean,
yeah,
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 I mean, I
exactly.
understand we are very, and we'd be the first to admit marami tayong pagkukulang, kasalanan, but hindi naman, it's not all of us, Ito nga,
Yeah.
she has a lot of good comments. Ito, third wave nga daw, third wave feminism, yan.
Hmm.
So yan po yung that's the term of yung mga umaaway sa talagang domination na ang gusto.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's becoming, they're becoming the very thing that they hate. Now once they just wanted equality, now they want they want supremacy.
I
So
see that a lot on Twitter.
'di ba?
Domination.
Oo, I mean, yeah, we want you equal tayo. I mean, but sabi nga nila, there's no better than, there's no less than, but we're different than, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Agreed.
And nako, I don't want to get there, pero alam mo, with the things going on with the rain the rainbow, the rainbow colored flag, I love them, I have nothing against them, but we're not the enemy. No one is your enemy. So stop treating those who disagree with you as the enemy. Yun lang,
Yeah.
that's all I have to say. Ayoko na,
Agreed,
baka
agreed.
ma-cancel culture na naman ako.
So yeah, I think it has to do again with their worldview. I might have to share a little bit about if it's okay.
It's
So
okay. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
the
We'd
argument
love to hear
that
your view.
Yeah.
women are, this is a very common one, that women are oppressed because only men had jobs hundreds and thousands of years ago. So that's if you try to ask them about the patriarchy, this is exactly what they say. So number one, again, that's a lie. Women had jobs and earned wages in several different societies and cultures.
Totoo.
So maybe
Yes.
they're just referring to the Western one. So, but even in the general case, in the Western cases, or the general case where men had a significantly high-paying job, it's obviously commensurate or equal to their skills and abilities hundreds of years ago. So, like,
Yes.
we didn't have clerks, web developers, engineers, IT experts, podcasters, or writers hundreds of years ago. So basically, all kind of work involve manual labor, and manual labor jobs require physical strength. So naturally, society would favor hiring men over women, and women were to take care of the family and the home. So I don't really think that this is in any way a systematic oppression by men to women. It's
Parang
how society
preference.
works. Yeah.
It's a preference.
So
Diba?
men are
Yes.
stronger. So
And perspective.
yeah, naturally people
And
would
at the
hire
same
men.
time, women are more flexible. Kaya nga they choose to do ballet, yoga, 'di ba? But that
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
mean they can't be stronger, that they can't, wala namang it's just a matter of preference, 'di ba?
yeah, yeah. And if the reverse happened, for example, what if we had something like that? What if all of us men complained about the roles? So for example, we look back in a backward perspective. So and we say wars were fought by men, billions of men have died to protect their homeland,
Oo,
their
exactly.
wives, their children. So in World War One alone, 15 million men died, and I think in World War Two about 60 million men died. So
Oh, yes.
it wouldn't make sense if we use that to
Do
complain.
you want to switch roles now? 'Di ba?
Yeah, exactly. So we're not really oppressed by any other tangible force. It's nature, and it's the same as nature that made the masculine being strong. So labor was labor and wars were naturally relied on to men, and nature also made the feminine being able to bear children and nurture the home. So this responsibility fell on women. So what men and women
Exactly.
both experience isn't something that they really wanted. So I don't think our male ancestors wanted to die in wars or
Exactly, yes.
wanted to work in the
No one
field
wanted to die.
for
Yes. Or
labor.
take dangerous jobs.
Yeah. So it's not something they wanted. And it's not something that was comfortable for them. So men and women are both treated unfair by nature. It's not something that men treated women unfair.
Tama,
It's nature
yes.
treated both men and women
Mm.
unfairly.
Sabi nga
And
ni
it,
Jordan Peterson, life is suffering, you know. It's
yeah,
not
exactly.
sunshine and rainbows, but it's what you do with life that makes it better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Diba?
been only like 60 years or so where
Mm-hmm.
these social dynamics were relaxed, where men don't have to die wars, or
Mm-hmm.
where men can work in front of computers, desks safely, and also when women can also have a choice to go and join the workforce and bear children at a later age or not at all. So yeah, I think we're slowly progressing in a more comfortable society.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. Amen to that. So,
Yep.
ngayon, how about just a quick thought about what do you think about chivalry becoming a forgotten practice? What are your
Um,
thoughts?
yeah. Can you define chivalry for me, or at least in your own ideas?
Come muna, Josh.
Okay. With chivalry,
Isip pa ako eh.
because chivalry is more of the manners part. Because usually,
Yon.
when
Uh-huh.
it came to how honorable people are, because basically I grew up in both cases. I grew up in both the west and eastern parts. So there's a difference between honorable chivalry and um normally just normal chivalry itself,
Uh-huh.
because the chivalry that we usually know in the eastern side is more of dictating your actions properly,
Uh-huh.
and in the western part it's more about giving a better view of what is deemed worthy and what's not. So that's how I place chivalry in a sense that it depends really on your manners, because in the eastern parts they're more liberated compared to the western parts. And I want to see your thoughts on both sides, because chivalry is a matter of perspective in my
Yeah,
case.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, that's why I asked, because
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a broad term, and sometimes I'm not sure if I should answer this through chivalry's original meaning, that was mostly limited in the three codes of knighthood. You
Yes,
know,
that's true.
mainly yeah, mainly religious, social, and moral codes. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, thank you. That being said, I think chivalry has a lot to do with the values surrounding the honor of a knight. So I'm not sure if it's. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
Western,
Yes, that's
and
the Western
Yes.
custom.
yeah, I think I think that's what we adapted. So and there are many values that surrounded the honor of being a knight. So mainly like humility, gratitude, courage, justice, discipline, generosity, and of course what most people refer to as chivalry now is how you can be honorable towards a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also included
Yon.
in knighthood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you
Mm-hmm.
sum it up, I think chivalry is upholding what is right at any given time. So it's basically just a part, and along with all other values, it's important because it serves as your mark or your reputation that would let other people know what kind of person you are. So in the past, we certainly didn't have any good a very good judicial system. So and trials in the past in history can go
Yes, I
really
agree.
crazy sometimes.
Amen.
So we don't have
Yes.
any
Amen.
CCTV cameras to tell us the
Oo.
truth of what happened. So
Hmm.
for example, in Christine Becerra's case, if we didn't see the video footage, the CCTV cameras of the hotel, it would be a completely different story. And
Mm-hmm.
people, the wokes on Twitter wouldn't be apologizing. for what
Hmm.
they initially
Oh my
judged.
god, it's the patriarchy's fault. I'm so triggered.
Yeah, they would just say men are trash
And these things will just
directly.
fade in time.
All
Yeah.
men
Just
are
like the rest.
pigs.
Uh, yeah. So and so our process of gathering like empirical evidence is very faulty, even until now. So people relied on reputation and honor to judge between conflicts and accusations. So that's where chivalry comes in. So, for example,
Yes.
a certain person is, for example, I would accuse Josh of stealing some goods, but there's no evidence because there's no camera of him stealing it. Then the judgment then is determined by the value of his character, how honorable Josh is, or how noble he is. Is he
Mm-hmm.
known by all men to be honest, or is he known to be crooked? So that's how chivalry is very helpful. And the problem today is that we don't have any like codes like that. So the problem is
Mm.
that we no longer value our honor because we've relied too much on the law and on the deeds that are recorded. So today there is no direct benefit of helping strangers because your deed is not anymore added to your reputation unless you show it once on social media. So
Kailangan may
Hmm.
selfie, naka-live.
yeah,
Yes,
so
and value, the way you show value right now is also different compared to before.
yeah,
And one of
Exactly.
the things that I've also noticed with society right now is that we're coming to the age where everything is an act, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody acts through the screen, everybody acts through the other medias out there just to save face,
yeah,
and that's something I'm not comfortable with either. Because there are ways to tell the fake ones from the real ones, right? And one of the things that I also want to do in helping others is that I want to exploit the truth, because
uh-huh,
one thing that I've also learned is that there will always be one side of the story: your side, your opponent's side, and the truth.
And the
yeah,
truth, yes.
Yes.
very
So
much.
pretty much that's how we view chivalry right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I think it's um okay, you first, Rick.
oh no,
Yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Kayo, kayo muna, sir.
Okay. So
Go.
speaking of that, the same is true for most criminals or most lawbreakers. So without these any value code we have in ourselves, no chivalry, no honor, no inner value. So as long as they're not caught doing any criminal activity, it's okay for them. So there is no inner moral struggle to fight, and there is no more outward reputation to uphold. So for them, it's simply just don't get caught. And back then, people were ruled by their integrity. So how they know themselves in a moral manner, and how people know other people. So I think it's important to have chivalry and other moral
Exactly.
codes.
Hmm.
And what's sad, if they get caught, they're just gonna play the victim card. Oh, I'm just
Mhm.
trying to live myself by, I'm just trying to get myself something. I mean, well, yung isang kahit, what do you call that? Isang kahit isang tuka, ano ba? Survival
Yeah.
mentality, which is nothing bad at all, but it's very dangerous na kung idadaan sa awa lahat, edi everyone can get away with it, 'di ba? Especially very dishonest and manipulative people that will use their race, sex, color, gender to
Uh-huh.
say that I have been destroyed by the system because I am this, I am that.
Yeah.
That's why they painted me as the suspect or as the criminal. Kahit na may facts na sa harap. And that's dangerous,
Yeah.
Hmm.
'di ba? So ngayon, let's go naman on kasi on this ban on the Congress, the one lately na I think it was last month, where
Uh-huh.
they were trying to ban yung mga contact sports, mga martial arts, and Joshua can really relate to this. So but before everything pala, ito pala si Ben Shapiro for the audience, mga characters natin, and for Joshua. Yeah, maybe you recognize him.
Yes. Okay, now I recognize
You
him.
definitely, he's gone
I
viral
remember.
so many times. And this guy as well, si Steven Crowder. This is Steven Crowder. Just yon. That's Steven Crowder. So siya yung meme na change my mind meme. That's him.
That's so cool.
So siya yung nag-viral na change kasi that's what he's famous for. What he does is he sets up a booth or a table like this. Yan, maybe you recognize him now.
Yes, I do.
Yan, so that's him. And what he does is he has an argument, like for example, there are only two genders. Yun yung that's him yeah, change my mind. And it's gone like viral on YouTube, 20 plus million views. And he's got a lot of points, and sometimes I disagree with him. Same with Ben Shapiro, but talagang it's good that his voice is being heard. And at least despite of the noise na naririnig natin, especially with mainstream media, because mainstream media kasi what they're trying to do is they want them to think for us, not for us to think for ourselves. Kaya kung may put out silang information, dapat yun na yun. They want to dictate na ito yung katotohanan, nothing else is true.
Yeah.
'Di ba? And that's scary. What if then what's happening right now, 'di ba? And yun na nga, speaking of mainstream media, and on that note, what do you think naman on the Congress proposing a ban for minors participating in contact sports?
I think I posted something about that a while ago, and
Yes.
but yeah, personally,
Yes,
I think
indeed.
our Congress, especially the congressmen that filed this one, I think they were way out of their priorities and didn't do enough research on children's social and intrapersonal development. So I wholeheartedly believe that there's greater harm for children, especially young children. And I think what the bill entails is that anyone below 16, 17,
Oo.
we're supposed to be
Yes.
banned in full contact sports tournaments. So and it doesn't make sense for me because they would say that they're merely protecting and that these children can't consent to the damages being done or to the harm that are being done to them. But there's really no point in banning it, since that's the purpose of the competition for full contact sports. So there's greater harm for children when they play like Mobile Legends every day than there is for them to participate in like
Exactly.
taekwondo competitions or
Oo.
any martial arts or whatever full contact sport out there. So maybe they should look at I think video games first for children before they actually do
Yes,
stuff like
kailangan balance.
I agree,
Dapat balance,
definitely.
'di ba?
There has to be a balance between both the physical aspect and the mental aspect as well. Because nowadays, since after the wars, of course, I'm just gonna put this in context, because before you were training to survive, right? And now it's different. You're also training to defend, because the concept of defense can take many forms. And for me, one way to do this is that you have to be strong in mind, strong in your values, and at the same time, you have to also stick to the ideals that you have to
Yeah.
keep strong. Because right now, we're facing a society where nobody wants to be accountable. That's one. Number two,
Yes.
we're also facing a society where our social interactions are almost limited to only talking. We never do physical contact anymore, which is sad, because it's one of the things that makes us human. And you're also neglecting the communications part. That's the reason why you also learn these things, is to communicate, because there are various ways of communication. Action is part of it. And if you ban this from the youth, they will have one generation where we will have what I call ninja the ninja generation.
Why
because
ninja?
Tapos,
because technically when ninjas, from the word ninja, um these are people who are working behind the shadows.
mhm.
Ah,
Assassins.
So yes, exactly.
Assassin's
And
Creed, eh, no?
because here is the part where keyboard warriors come in. So the
Yeah.
war
yes.
right now, the wars are fought through online. It's never physical anymore, which is bad
Paramihan ng
because
Twitter followers.
because there are a lot of
Ah.
keyboard warriors out there. No offense to the keyboard warriors out there, but I know you guys have different things to fight for, but there's also a way to settle this in a diplomatic way, not just by doing these online. And that's the reason why debates were created, and that's also why there are conferences for these things,
Exactly.
because we have to talk things through, not just by actions, not just by words, but at the same time, show the ideals to the people. Because right now we're losing a generation where they cannot connect or even express themselves anymore. That's the reason why
Unless it's
I think,
online.
yes, unless it's online. But that's also one of the reasons why I think patriarchy is still needed in this moment in time. It's because we're forgetting the ideals what makes us human. Mainly, patriarchy also came from humanities,
Yeah.
and we need to remember what makes us human. And I think communication is one of the best aspects that makes us human, and to
Amen.
self-express.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hmm. Yeah,
Sorry, I just need to get this out of my system. Ito si Ben
go 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 go.
Shapiro. So, wait lang. Saan ba si Ben Shapiro? I'll try. Pinapractice ko siyang imimic dati. Pero let's try it. I'll
Sige,
say
sige,
this in a
try,
Ben
try.
Shapiro voice. Saan ba
Okay.
yan? Ayan, so hypothetically, if I slay some knights because they did a bad to a princess, do I count as someone who practices in chivalry? Well, facts don't care about your feelings. Oh, by the way, my wife's a doctor. Oh my
Well
god.
done, well done. Amazing.
You should watch him, man. Gusto ko talaga siya. Like, I mean, of
remember
course,
that
not everyone's
interview.
perfect, di ba?
I watched that interview. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nakakatawa, you know, someone threatened him to put him on an ambulance because he was trying to call him her a him. If you know what
Yeah.
I'm getting saying.
Yeah. The transgender one.
Yeah, di ba? It's so funny. Pero eto, speaking of contact sports, I think a perfect example. Do you if I may ask, a segue lang. Do you watch Karate Kid, Cobra Kai? Do you know that series?
Series no, but I think I watched the original movie.
Okay,
Yes,
so
Karate
I'm
Kid.
sure, yes, you're gonna love it. Pero, kasi sa episode 1, if you remember this, Josh, may sinabi si Daniel LaRusso eh. Because they were trying to ban karate in schools. Kasi nga nagkaroon ng gulo. Sorry, spoiler,
that's
but
true.
yeah. May sinabi siya, it's not the fault of karate that this happened eh. Why would you blame karate for the mistake? It's nasa tao yan, di ba?
Mm. Like what I've
And
said before, it's more of how you react to things, because
Oo.
it's your reactions that dictate your actions. One of the things that I think this generation also needs to work on is how to react to things positively, because from my perspective,
responsibly.
because yeah, and responsibly, with actual accountability, because nowadays it's also dependent on how they were raised by the parents. That's one, because I see this in my students too. I teach, so when I see this in my students, I would usually say that think first before you act, because the problem is if you react to something, there will be tendencies that it will backfire on you without you knowing. So you have to study the facts first. Think before you act. Think before you post.
Yeah.
Because before you do anything else, it might endanger a lot of people without you knowing. And by a flip of a switch, anything can go wrong. And it can cause chaos that you don't want. And it will ruin either your family, your friends, most especially yourself. So be careful of what you do. So control your reactions.
Exactly.
That's on my own.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think in a way, just a segue, it's important
Yeah, sure.
for us to be to be able to defend ourselves physically, at least to be ready, to be confident, because in the past when people try to slander you, it would only end up in a duel.
Yes,
So
that's true.
that's what happened with Manuel Quezon, and I've been sharing a lot about him in the page before. So if it's for example, it's how you test whether what what you're saying is really something you believe. It's because if you really believe in something, you are maybe to a point capable of dying for it or dying to that to that idea that you just said. So for example, I mean that's how slander wa- wasn't really that existent in the past. Today we have people can slander anyone, and when they're trying to be held accountable, they just disappear. So
Exactly. Or better yet, they cling to their tribe, their audience. Na, oh my God, I'm being bullied. You know, can you attack him for me? Like
Yeah.
it's affecting my well-being already.
my mental health.
My safe space is being ruined. I'm so attacked. I'm,
I'm so offended.
I'm so offended. Hashtag cancel TIP. They're
Fortunately,
invading my safe space.
it really doesn't happen much on Facebook. I think it's more on Twitter.
Yeah,
Those
more
kind
on
of-
Exactly.
Twitter.
Meron din Facebook, but Twitter's the most toxic thing, I guess. Oh, another thing. Do you know Jocko Willink?
Uh,
Yes, Jocko Willink.
Maybe sa mga to our patriarchs and our noble women there, maybe you know who Jocko Willink is, and nasa level din na Ben Shapiro. Basically, he is an ex-Navy SEAL, and I really like si Miss Ma'am Reese Gade. Yes, she knows Jocko Willink, and ang ganda ng mga teachings niya. Like, one of his most famous quotes is, yun nga, discipline equals freedom. Ang ganda pakinggan.
nice.
The more discipline you have
Beautiful.
in your life, the more freedom you will attain. And that's true. Like, kasi nga, the author of, ito, highly recommended Extreme Ownership. Yes, Hydra. I read Extreme Ownership and Dichotomy of Leadership. So, yes, he's if you're familiar as well with PragerU, yes, si Dennis Prager, yes, I follow him as well. Yun. He's also very smart, very intelligent. So yun, just a few examples of conservatives. Kasi these are not, wala namang masama following liberal, like yung mga famous people that are, turns out to be political activists tsaka liberal na just because they have an opinion on what's going on. Like, okay. So yun, but we have an alternative, diba? So,
Yeah.
speaking of of equality naman, what are your thoughts on equality being presented in mainstream culture?
Yeah. Equality. How do you like a one sentence definition of equality? How do you define it?
Para sa akin, there are, sabi nga ni Jordan Peterson, there are two types of equality. Equality of opportunity and equality of outcome. The good equality is, and this is what I truly believe in, is equality of opportunity. When there's an opportunity, everyone has the equal, pantay-pantay ang nila. Everyone can apply, but not everyone will get accepted.
Yeah.
It depends on what you are capable of, your skills, yung talents mo, and that's it. Whoever, regardless of your race, gender, your size, if you know how to get the job done or to do what is required, you got the job.
Yeah. So
Equality of outcome naman is the other way around. You are accepted, you got the role because your identity, your gender identity, your size, your religion, and it's not basing yung talent mo, your skill, what you're capable of, is what you are.
yeah, and that's I think that's dangerous. For example,
Yes.
in Canada, they're they have
my
they have
Canada.
these gender quotas and even in private businesses and in their government that people in the upper positions should be, I mean, 50% of them should be women. So that doesn't make sense because people who are supposed to be promoted are those who are good, those who have skills,
Yes.
those who have the capabilities, not just those who have vaginas or I don't know what other traits they require. Maybe um, skin color or
Oo.
sexual orientation. So and that's dangerous.
In sa movies, 'di ba? Like they're I mean, wala namang masama for diversity, but sometimes what they're casting is so out of the story.
Yeah.
Like, alam mo yung, oh, we need to cast Iron Man as the first gay black Hispanic plus size uh, plus size mentally challenged ano pa ba
Queer.
person queer, yes. I
Queer.
mean alam mo yun, like okay, is that connected to the story? Is that gonna make a story better? No, it's just it feels like something pushed down your throats.
Yeah. it is.
And wala namang masama.
It's
It can
overrated.
work. It's gonna work if it's in the right story. It's the right story. Can you maybe ano bang baka may mga example ba na something that worked? Sino ba? I guess Miles Morales sa Spider-Man is a good example. Do you follow Spider-Man TIP?
Not really.
Kasi si Miles Morales, he's an African American na Hispanic, and he's the next Spider-Man. So, but imagine if they made Peter Parker na ganun. Syempre medyo magagalit ang tao na bakit ganun? Peter Parker supposed to be a Caucasian male. And then those who complain about that will be like, "Oh, that's racist."
That's
So
true.
I think there's a lot of it is in Netflix, especially
Oh.
Netflix original movies.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
for example, if you take into account how many, how much of the population is gay or homosexual, and then you match it with how many gay or homosexual people are represented in Netflix movies. So it's very different, and it's very. I think it doesn't really represent the truth about our society. So I
Agreed.
think it has an
It's an
agenda.
exaggeration. Oo nga,
Yeah.
yun na nga eh. And that's, I think, this is a good way to talk about the mainstream culture na rin, about how yung influence nila, like, mainstream media, Hollywood, and even in the Philippines, big networks na talagang they're trying to push an agenda, they're trying to push their politics, the culture that they want to be perceived for the people to follow. And if you don't follow, you're casted out as, kumbaga, if you're in America, you're either a hypocrite, a sexist, a racist, bigot. Kung dito naman DDS ka. I'm like, come on.
Ironically.
It's easy to win an argument by labeling them that. And
Yeah.
alam mo, whatever your politics are, if you disagree with someone, oh, DDS yan. Wala na, you're casted out ka na.
So
And that's sad.
I think it's better if you
Agreed.
just let them let
Oo nga,
let them
yeah.
call you names.
I don't,
A lot
yeah,
of people
exactly.
called me DDS in the past because I said God bless the president, and
Oh,
there-
naman. What's
people
so
are
bad about
shouting
that,
and
diba?
screaming in my page.
Oh my
and I say,
God!
DDS faces.
Oh, I've had
Neighbor.
worse. Diba?
We've all had our fair share.
Oh my God. So, it's, oh, you're pro-Trump. Oh my God, you're a bigot. You're a right-wing. Parang,
Just
why
let
don't,
them?
I'm like, okay, fine, yeah. Oh, cancel this guy. Oh my God. My safe space. I need my tea. Wala namang masama. Like, ako kasi, and you probably will agree, there's nothing wrong if you're liberal, conservative, but kaya the reason why I hate wokes is because, sabi nga ni Josh, their reaction, the way they react, the way they do things, they attack people, they cancel people, they cry on Twitter, on Facebook, and even some conservatives are like that. Aminin natin. May mga ganun. Yun na nga sinabi mo, there are yung mga other fathers who just na nagpapagalit lang sa mga bata are the same people.
Mhm.
'Di ba?
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's sad. The reaction towards what's happening is, and ako, sometimes I need an ego check. It happens to me sometimes. Pero 'di ba, that's why we hate woke culture, because it breeds resentment and bitterness. And mainstream media is parang parang ang weird. They're trying to breed this, they're trying to promote this.
Yeah, exactly.
And yun yung
As well,
nakakatakot. Yes, sir. Sorry.
So, speaking of mainstream media, as far as equality is concerned, I still think though that majority of people know what true equality means. So just like what you said, it's supposed to be equality of opportunities, not of outcome. But
Mm.
like I said again and again, social media and with the help of these liberal corporations, especially in the Philippines, is filled with bad and ignorant opinion, and they are usually the loudest ones.
Oo.
So in the true sense of the word equality, it should be expanded as equal opportunities. And
Exactly. Equal
I've long
opportunities.
criticized those who always shout for equality every day, and when you try to look at their own lives, when you try to do some research on their personal profiles, they are usually the same people who shout like oppression, that they're oppressed every second. They're very
At the comfort
unproductive
of their MacBooks and iPhones, sipping their
Yeah.
Starbs.
and complain about capitalism.
Hindi lahat,
So,
Exactly. Actually, that's strange. Those who complain about capitalism are the ones, hindi lahat, again, baka may mga ka-retards, oh my God, you're generalizing people. Hindi, I mean, but you notice those who are popular, who are famous, karamihan sa kanila are may stature, privileged.
yeah.
Mm.
And they're complaining
true.
about the environment, it's the government's fault, it's the corporations, it's the capitalists' fault. Pero in
It is
reality,
close
it's each and every one of us, diba? Like, aminin natin, you will see may makikita ka sa kanto, you see people on the street who carelessly litter, may makikita ka sa paligid nila, they don't segregate their stuff. It's the mainstream media wants us to tell us that it's not our fault, it's someone else's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. We are blinded by what we perceive.
Mhm.
Ngayon naman-
On the other
sorry.
hand, though,
Yeah.
those who shout equality the most are either on the top what do you call this, layers of
The
society,
1%. The
Yeah.
1%.
and the bottom of the middle class. So when you try to really like search or their backgrounds or profiles, you could see that they're very unproductive, uninspirational members of society, and
Yes.
probably never achieved
Mm.
anything significant in their lives. So that's why they want to endorse what they call equality for selfish reasons, and primarily because they're just what I call weak. Those who worked hard, those who achieved success, aren't really endorsing equality because they know full well that even if you give everyone, like, for example, if you give every Filipino $100,000, I still and wholeheartedly believe that majority of people will still end up broke and even poorer
Exactly.
than they originally were.
Exactly.
So we have different work ethics,
Exactly.
different mindset, different beliefs, different tolerance of pain and pleasure.
Exactly.
And so no matter what you do, nature will still take over. It still boils down to the strong that will eat the weak.
Mhm.
And that's sad, that that's the reality of society. That's why it's our job to become strong, us like the patriarchy, kaya so we can uplift people, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not totally give them a silver spoon, but just a helping hand, 'di ba?
Yeah. Nice.
So, ngayon let's talk about the positive traits naman of the patriarchy. What do you think are some positive traits of the patriarchy that our current society have misunderstood?
Yeah, have misunderstood. I think I would answer mostly everything, but I can't at the same time I can't blame them because um, the patriarchy has many facets and forms, even many versions that several cultures have adopted and developed. So it's best if we really start off by understanding how the patriarchy was formed. So it was first and foremost the very basic, the very foundational survival of of our species. So nature, like I said earlier, nature relied on the strength and the energy of men to both hunt and acquire food, and both to protect their tribes and their families. And so when we moved on from that, when we advanced as a species, we now see that humans have built permanent settlements because they've developed agriculture and husbandry. But even agriculture and husbandry also relied on the strength of men to work on the fields and to tend animals. So, and even as we advanced in society, and because now families have properties, they have lands, they have boundaries, they have possessions,
Exactly.
they would need to pass the titles for these possessions to the strongest worker in the household. So, and it usually is the firstborn or the eldest male in the family, and this is where the patrilineal or patrilineality started to pass the title to the firstborn male or to the eldest male. And even after, when we moved on from that and developed industries, we still heavily relied on men, since our machines then back then, maybe a century ago, were much simple and needed manual labor to operate. And until then, this is the reason why men held the power in civil societies and politics, because men were always meeting with other men. Men understood the society better. Men understood protection, national security. Men were the breadwinners for the entire house, and men by default represent their families. So what our society today has completely misunderstood about the patriarchy is the very basic foundation of how it was formed. The patriarchy is the way we humans, not just men, have adapted to survive the unfairness of nature. So what we have
Yes.
now are just mere remnants of a worldwide patriarchal society. But at the same time, does it mean that the patriarchy is wrong and obsolete? I don't think it means that, because for thousands of years, men held the keys to survival of our own species and even our own families. Women's involvement in society and politics is still relatively short in a human perspective, very short, about 40 to 50 years ago. And I'm not saying that women, that they can come up with any real good ideas about how to run a society, because a lot of women can, but for the most part, for the most part of it, the cognitive and emotional nature of women, either by design or by evolution, is not that suited to decide on the most important things in society and in the government. So a lot of people believe that men and women are different, and if you believe that men and women are different, then you just can't say that this isn't true. And this is very obvious even
Exactly.
in, yeah, in political voting patterns. So ver- um, pattern differences between men and women in, for example, in America, because I think that's the only data we had. So for the last 40 years, in the US, women have been voting on Democratic presidential candidates more than men. So women tend to adopt more liberal policies more than men do. In the 2016 US elections alone, men prioritized policies for national security, economy, anti-terrorism, international relations. So what we see is that men are concerned about what keeps society safe and
Safety,
running.
yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Safety
so
and
men are
security.
generally concerned about protection and survival. So women don't give a damn about these. In the 2016 voting patterns alone, the elections, women in the US favored for liberal policies like opening up borders, allowing non-citizens or illegal immigrants to vote, allowing illegal immigrants to stay permanently in the U.S. They would favor policies like banning guns, firearms,
Mm-hmm.
and to lessen the military spending, more legislation against racial discrimination, and abortion rights. So
Mm-hmm.
now I don't want to say that these are all stupid, even if they are, but the pattern really shows that women are more nurturing and caring in nature because it shows in their priority. And I really believe that the nurturing and caring nature of women is good and it's noble. It's not something we have a problem with. But when it comes to political leadership, I think moral authority or control, it's not a question why nature tends to favor men and why society will always develop their own form of patriarchy. And I just have to say that not all forms of patriarchy is good. I just have to get it
Exactly.
out there. Like I've said earlier, some are just remnants of it. And what I mean by that is that a lot of men are automatically given the power, but lack the purpose and responsibility of why they should wield them or why they have them. So, and there are also other forms of patriarchy, like Islamic patriarchy, uh, uh, Jewish ones, and others. So, what I personally,
Depends on the culture.
yeah, uh, for me, what I uphold is the Christian patriarchy, and
Mm.
that entails the two most common or most dominant values in the Christian patriarchy is that Christ likeness and male leadership in the family, in the church, and community. And this kind of leadership is in the form of servant leadership, where men take the lead in serving others and in sacrificing for others, for their highest good, for everyone around them. So that's I think in a way I think there's so much that a lot of people don't understand about the patriarchy.
Yes. And that's why
Yes,
it's our
indeed.
job, 'di ba, to give them, not to change their mind, but to give our perspective lang naman. Kasi nga
Yeah.
it's sobrang dominant na ng, like I said, the mainstream media, the culture, Hollywood, and yung the news, with they're at an unfair advantage na we have to at least give a proper balance of both perspectives. Kasi now when you say, nakita ko nga rin sa Netflix and other streaming platforms, either they're banning conservatives or they're, yun na nga si Trump, 'di ba? Whether you like him or not, he got banned. And other mainstream outlets, when you say the word conservative, it's either they normally brand it as the end, yung kontrabida, or the villain, or something that's a bad word. And
Uh-huh.
it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't it and we're easily and is easily casted out in the, nga, as a Nazi, 'di ba? As a right winger, a far right rather. So that's why it's our job to give a proper balance to the, kumbaga, we are the yin to the yang, 'di ba?
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And if you continue to cancel these people, it's imbalance. And yun ang nakakatakot eh. It's power. They've got a lot of the power. They've got a lot of the influence. And even here in the Philippines, if, as you can see, Twitter is so dominant, Facebook is quite dominantly, yun na nga, ganun din na when you have a different perspective, people will not like you. They're gonna cancel you. Yun na nga. Have you heard of Parler? TIP?
Yeah, I do. I did plan to create an account there,
Ako
a
din eh.
page there, because many times my account has been like banned from Facebook for
Talaga?
I think weeks or even
Damn.
just days. And so if I'm removed from Facebook, it's not gonna be good. That's why I was trying to see which avenues or which platforms actually support um, our right to speech.
Yes, free speech is important. 'Di ba?
Definitely.
even if you disagree, ito nga, sino nga ba yung nagsabi na you have to, even if you disagree with someone, they have the right to say it. Diba?
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
Yeah, what I do, um, I think for years now is that I don't I don't write anything that I've not thought about for days or even for weeks, and I construct everything, my arguments, my case, as neatly as possible, so that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't bring out an emotional reaction
Exactly.
to the people who disagree with you. For example, I think I've shared this in my group that um, a lot of times people from the left, the liberals and the
Mm-hmm.
wokes have these
Mm-hmm.
like groups, and they would refer to me, the IP, the Imperial Patriarch, what they think about me. So a lot of them actually really just simply disagree with me, but um, fr- I've seen their comments there. What they write is that they respect they respect my person compared to
Yes.
other conservatives that they just hate so much because I think it's about the way you write and the way you convey your message to people. It really has a difference, and it's kind of like the difference between being cancelled or not
Exactly.
in this society today.
Indeed.
And it's important na freedom of speech is something that, and I think in the Philippines it should be kasi I don't, iba yung laws dito sa Philippines compared to the
Mhm.
United States. You can't just say something about someone even if you just disagree with them. They can easily sue you, and that's, I think, very dangerous
Yeah,
sa ating Philippine laws. Unlike in the US, if you, unless you make a slanderous claim na libelous, or if you incite action, call for action,
uh,
then free speech is very open sa US, and I hope na ma-adapt din natin sa Pilipinas yun.
yeah,
And it's very important kasi what's happening is ang daming nagsasampa ng kaso because, oh, I just don't like what you said. Ang daming nagka-cancel, and that should change, 'di ba?
yeah.
Hmm.
So ngayon naman, I think we're about to end our our little stream here, and so far our audience, our Rictards and our noble women and patriarchs are enjoying the conversation. So ngayon, let's end this on a positive note for Sir TIP. So I would like to, if you would like to share any advice or any words of encouragement to our boys, men, and girls, women, whoever's watching, who are facing difficult times.
Uh, um, what advice?
Hmm.
um, Let me think. So I think number one is it's more spiritual, but I think it really does matter because um, you really have to seek Christ if you are facing difficult times, and even if you're
Yes.
not facing difficult times, you have to seek Christ because young men and boys today are losing their sense of purpose because of the rise of feminism. They're losing their sense of purpose and worth in society and in themselves. So feminists would consistently say that boys and girls or men and women are equal, and that there's nothing different, there's nothing noble, there's nothing heroic and courageous about men. So if our boys are growing up to believing that kind of lie, that kind of idea, it would lead to really just weak, passive men, broken men, and
Yes.
knowing and following Christ is really just the ultimate solution. It shows them exactly who they are and their masculine identity. And the next one I think I would advise is you really have to find a mentor
Oh
and
yes, that's true.
fellowship with other men. So not just a
Yes.
typical barkada that goes on to inuman whenever you have problems. I mean, it could be like that. It could be part of it, but not the typical barkada that we all know. But a mentor who will serve as your role model, as your guide, and who would really just give you solid biblical, rational advice and wisdom. And also, you could fellowship with other men your age, and even I would suggest men older than you, so you can both you can edify each other. I think that's what really got me out when I was facing difficult times myself. So I needed a mentor and fellowship with other men. So it's really important to know that you have men that have your back, and you have men who will support you, yeah, when you're in trouble or you're facing any challenges in life.
Amen.
Amen
Shoutout nga
po.
pala sa aking uncle, si Tito Eman is watching right now. Yes. Seek a mentor who can bring you good influence. Amen to
Yeah,
that. Tama.
exactly.
To. Saint Joseph, the model of fatherhood. Oh, interesting. Masculinity. What do you anong
Awesome.
masasabi mo, Josh?
With that one, I would say it's a very good suggestion, because Saint Joseph is not just the patriarch of the Holy Family, but he's also a symbol that we should also have, because through his own struggles, we could see how to become a great father, a great friend, and a great ally to other people. Because right now, society right now, like what Mr. TIP said, is that we need a role model, and at the same time we need a great mentor. And like what I've said before as well, and I'm gonna quote this from Karate Kid,
Oh,
is that there's no such thing as a bad student, only bad teacher.
only bad teachers.
Nice.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes. So we need more of those in society right now, because that's also one of the reasons why I went into teaching as well. Is because I wanna bring out a better influence to people, and at the same time I wanna reach out to give out not just a positive influence, but a way to change the world, so that everybody can get along well, and at the same time we can work together for a brighter future. Because sooner or later, money won't be the driving force of our time.
Uh-huh.
It will be our bonds, our relationships that would become the driving forces that create a new society. And we have to take out those certain aspects as well when it comes to diversity. Because the problem is with diversity is that imagine how involving how many kinds of different cultures, races, right? And the more that there are, the more it's harder to maintain and keep up. So we have to find a way to unify them in a sense that we won't be at each other's throats. And at the same time, we can also be unified in a very, very great manner. And it's a universal manner in a sense that would change the world. And I think the world right now needs unity.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going
Yes.
to do that is if we communicate thoroughly, and at the same time convey our feelings to one another in a way that it's easy for us to understand, and to know how we affect and react to certain situations. Because reaction and at the same time self knowledge is also one of the key factors to having better relationships. Because the only problem we have with society right now is that we may have a medium to communicate, but it's how we communicate that's the problem. And I think this comes with either just the values and the education that comes with it. So that's my take on what society needs right now. And thanks to Mr. TIP as well, he has inspired us with his broader knowledge and wisdom when it came to the Patriarch. And it's an honor to have you here, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Amen to
Thank you.
that. Amen to that. So yun, I think we have tackled everything. We've learned so much from Mr. TIP from this wonderful interview, and I hope sa mga ating noble women and rictards natin dyan and patriarchs, I hope you guys learned something as well. And we had such a wonderful conversation, and I hope you enjoyed your first ever interview, Sir TIP.
Yeah,
It's re-
definitely. I did.
An honor to
It's
have you, sir.
amazing.
Grabe. Sobrang, it's such an honor to have you for the first time no, for your first interview rather. And another quote to one of my podcasts na pinapakinggan ko from Brian Rose, London Real, if you've heard of him. Freedom of speech. Censorship is real and it's killing us. So hanggat maaari, voice your opinions out. Use your voice to be a positive influence, and even if that people will disagree with you, and you will just respect all you have to do is respect their opinion, and if you disagree with them, ganun talaga. Yeah, that's life. There's no one person in the world that will not agree with you. There's always somebody who will disagree with someone. And kung wala yan, ibig sabihin nun, it's either you censor them or you cancel them na. Kaya, di ba?
Yeah, that's true.
So, yun. Grabe. Another comment pala. Oh, sorry.
Oh, wait. Let's see what that comment was.
Okay,
So
just proceed with the comment.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just a quick one from my uncle. Ito, kids should be taught and raised to know the virtue of having gratitude, respect,
Yes.
to give you exactly love and service. Nothing more despicable than the person who bites the hand that fed them. Grabe. Exactly. It's all about gratitude.
said,
And
sir.
alam mo to, Josh, alam mo to. Alam natin to.
Yes,
And that's
pretty much.
amazing. Yeah. Sorry, Sir TIP, we were gonna say something.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead, sir.
I was about to share just one thing about it's something that Jordan Peterson have said many times, even in his book, that we should make up our bed or clean our rooms. So
Yes.
it's something like that that generally people have things that are more within their personal purview or personal control that are more difficult to deal with, and that they are really avoiding, and that generally the
Tama.
way they avoid these things, these problems they have personally, is by adopting pseudo moralistic stances on large social scale issues so that they look good to their friends and to their neighbors. So I think people who don't have their own houses in order should be very
Exactly.
careful before they go around and reorganize the world. So that's a direct Jordan Peterson quote.
Eto nga, I'm gonna share a picture about or regarding that. Medyo maliit nga lang, but I hope you can see it. Eto. So, it's about cleaning your room. So, yan. So, sabi nga ni Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, if you can't clean your own room, who the hell are you to judge the world? Or who the hell are you to give advice to the world, diba?
Agreed.
And ito rin ang problema ko with people who are virtue signaling. That's yun ang pinaka-ayokong trait ng mga pa-wokes eh. It's they think they're morally superior because they have their own opinion na ito ang pinaka-ayoko na talagang pumitik ako sa mga quotes nila. And I don't know your thoughts about this. Sabihin nila, your silence is helping the oppressor. Your silence is feeding the oppressor. I'm like, what do you mean silence? Anong silence? Dude, mate, I'm just living my life. Yeah, I have my own opinion. Paano kung inere ko yung opinion na yun? Eh, di canceled na ako, ganon. Diba? But why would you enforce people to speak up when they don't have to? Alam mo yun, na may opinion ka, fine. But don't force others to agree with you or to join you because may kanya-kanya tayong buhay. Yes, I'm promoting you should speak up, but only when you have something to say. And not when other people are telling you to do so, diba?
Choose your battle wisely.
Exactly. Hindi lahat kailangan ng opinion mo. You don't have to rant about the government every 2 hours on Facebook. You don't have to rant about your family, your problems with life every 2 hours on Facebook. Ito nga sabi ni Jordan Peterson you're so spoiled with your rights. What happened to the responsibility that you have? Diba? So yun,
Yeah, that's true.
So yun, Sir TIP, would you like to promote your page, any of your Facebook content? You have a podcast or not a podcast, or Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any social media platform that you would like to promote?
Um, not really.
So just your Facebook page.
Yeah, I'm not even trying to promote my Facebook page. But I do. If anyone's out there listening and hadn't liked or followed the page, you're free to follow the page and you can join the group. It's called Patriarchs and Noble Women for Christ. So I think it's a private group, and I think it's only accessible when you try to when you're invited or when you're I'm not sure how the private group works or when you have the link maybe. So I can share. Can you share this link on the screen?
Yes. I can wait. What I can do is I can share my screen for the benefit of our viewers, mga kariktards. Can you see the screen? Yan.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
there is it.
That one.
Yeah, so do
Awesome.
follow this, do join, but I think may mga question siya. And it's quite on the religious perspective.
99% of people who try to join the group don't even bother answering those
Talaga?
questions.
Ang
Yeah,
hirap.
so,
Ang hirap nung iba.
yeah,
The second
naging
question.
Useless.
Yeah, but it's okay. At least you're still very welcoming.
Yeah.
And that's good, you know. You're hindi ka stern, hindi ka strict. Kasi this is looks like it's an open forum naman for everyone's ideas and thoughts to be shared, and looks good. Patriarchs and Noble Women for Christ. Please do join the group. You
And
know.
this one also, this is my wife's page.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
Awesome.
Meek and
Oh,
Quiet
I would.
Spirit.
Yes, please. Definitely this one.
That's a. I don't think she updates it regularly, and you can't find any like debates, anything like what you would find on my page. So it's very soft and very. I'm not sure what you call that, but it's just an inspirational page for women. So
Yes, at
basically,
least, diba? It's
Yeah.
balanced.
so it's a counterpart to my page.
Diba?
Yeah,
Ito,
I think
sabi.
that's it.
So having freedom of speech doesn't mean you speak your opinion even if it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's true. Diba? So, ayun, grabe. So let's end it on this note. Maraming salamat, Mr. TIP, the Imperial Patriarch, for joining us on the Voice of the Boys to discuss about the Patriarchy. Maraming salamat po, and congratulations on your first podcast or online show interview, and we're so honored that you chose us, that you agreed to join us rather for this special moment. Grabe. And I honestly, we are looking forward to have you again, hopefully in the near future. So we're
Yes,
happy to
definitely.
have you again. Yes, for more conversations like this. And this is really refreshing, you know, na there are conservatives, there are on the other side of the spectrum who are open to discuss their ideas or to share so that we can have a balance of opinions, di ba? You know,
Indeed.
TIP lang malakas. Grabe yung fan base mo, sir. Sana all.
And they're still
So, yun.
asking which session that we have again. So we'll discuss that in a later time with our Facebook page, right, Rich?
Yes, of course. We're gonna get updated on our Facebook page, and actually may very special news akong i-share, but not for this week. Maybe in the next few weeks, I'll be sharing very important news sa ating mga characters and to our noble women and patriarchs. So stay tuned, and please, sa mga nakikinig pa sa atin dyan, do follow my Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Follow this page, The Rick Matthews, for more nonsense content na sinasabi ko. So yun, please do follow for more content like this. For more of my jokes, my awkward jokes, my SJW rants. Joke lang. So yun. Sa mga characters and TIP followers, noble women and patriarchs, I would invite you to my Facebook page. So that's it. And once again, we are Voice of the Boys, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I would see you again very soon. Of course, follow na rin ang aking co-host, ang aking partner, si Voice D Slayer. Ayan, I can flash your... Yon. So, let me...
Thank you.
Let me... Of course, man. Of course, anytime. Let me flash...
Do you dub anime shows?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, pero we can impersonate, we can dub. If you have any characters that you would like to hear, let us know. Baka kaya namin. But
Or
ito na
if
nga
you have a script.
Okay.
Please do follow Voice D Slayer, si Joshua Ravelas, He has a couple of content na rin that he would like to show. He's also a correct me if I'm wrong, graphic artist and a
Yes,
producer
I am.
and a marketing specialist.
Yes, that's true as well. One of my many other professions besides teaching.
Yun. So do follow his page, of course, Voice D Slayer. And yun na po ang ating Voice of the Boys. Thank you once again for joining us
Thank you, guys.
tonight, mga Karektards, Joshua, and of course, the Imperial Patriarch. And have a wonderful night, everyone, and peace out, and stay safe, and stay at home. Stay with your loved ones, and have a wonderful evening.
Can I have your ID?